peacock on our MSNBC logo. We did that for Earth Day. And on this Earth Day, scientists are leaving their laboratories and hitting the streets of Washington, D.C. and more than 600 cities around the world to stand up for science. And while the march is not explicitly directed at Donald Trump, it's hard to miss the context. The U.S. president, who has stacked his administration with oil men and climate change deniers, who himself thinks global warming is a hoax, and nervous civil servants scrambling to preserve their research at agencies like the EPA against potential politicization or even deletion by the Trump political appointees. Like it or not, science is political, because when it comes to the fate of the world, it matters who's in the White House.
A few minutes ago, the United States ambassadors to every country in the world told the leaders of those nations what I am about to tell you.
In the movie Deep Impact, it matters if the president believes the scientists. When it turns out a giant comet is hurtling toward Earth with apocalyptic consequences, it's the scientists who first sound the alarm. Just like real-life scientists did this week about the asteroid that came within 1 million miles of Earth Wednesday, its closest encounter with Earth in 400 years. But our real-life president is not so keen on science.
Donald thinks that climate change is a hoax perpetrated by the Chinese. I think it's real.
I did not.
Science is real.
I do not say that.
Yeah, you did. And here's the tweet to prove it. And here's a meteorologist to prove Donald Trump's climate denialism wrong.
This is just scientific fact. These are numbers. This isn't, Andy trying to convince you of anything. We're now in the warmest 12-month period that we've had. And we're now in the 24th warmest period that we've had. We're now in the 36th warmest. These are all the streaks that we have going.
Trump's dissing of the scientific community reached new heights when he named Scott Pruitt as head of the Environmental Protection Agency. The same Scott Pruitt who, as Attorney General of Oklahoma, sued the EPA 14 times. And who recently denied something 99% of scientists accept: that carbon dioxide emissions, or human activity, are a primary cause of global warming.
No, I think that measuring with precision human activity on the climate is something very challenging to do, and there's tremendous disagreement about the degree of impact.
No, there isn't.
Budget blueprint, hashtag America First, the planet basically comes last, with the EPA losing 1/3 of its funding.
Regarding the question as to climate change, I think the president was fairly straightforward. We're not spending money on that anymore. We consider that to be a waste of your money.
That was the budget director, Mick Mulvaney. He thinks saving the planet is a waste of your money. MAGA, am I right? The budget blueprint also cut nearly $6 billion for the National Institutes of Health, which funds research on cancer and other diseases that kill humans. Throwing Trump's decisions to greenlight new oil pipelines and to gut many of President Obama's climate policies, and you can see why the scientists are ready to trade in their petri dishes for protest signs.
When you have people who don't know much about science standing in denial of it and rising to power, that is a recipe for the complete dismantling of our informed democracy.
Godspeed, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Godspeed, planet Earth. It was nice knowing you.
It's not really a joke.
And up next, Bill Nye, the science guy, joins me live from Washington, D.C. and around the world. Tens of thousands of people are rallying and marching for science. You know, actual facts instead of alternative facts. And the scientists are leading the way. And joining me now from Washington, D.C. is Bill Nye, the science guy, who's also the honorary co-chair of the March for Science. Hey, Bill. So we talked about this beforehand. Greetings. Well, let me start off with some good news, Bill. The public is with you. The public is on your side and believes in the science about climate change. 59% of Americans, as polled by Gallup, say that the environment should be prioritized over energy. And even more important, 68% agree that human activity is causing global warming. We don't know what to say about the 29%. Does that give you hope that science can survive this current era?
Yeah, well, what gives me hope is the marches today. Thousands of people are down here on the National Mall. I watched earlier. People are marching in Paris, in Sydney, Australia. People around the world are very concerned about this. Now, when you look at that Gallup poll and the expression is how many people prefer to have the environment preserved rather than get energy, what we in the engineering community want to remind everybody is there's plenty of renewable energy available. We just have to develop the technologies to capture it and distribute it. And this would be something that's very doable. We can get to 80% renewable in the next 15 years. We can get 100% renewable in the next 30 years. And we wouldn't have to have a military on the other side of the world protecting oil fields so that we can get our fossil fuels here in North America. This is an enormous opportunity for us, and I just want to remind the administration that science is political. It is inherently political, like everything else. We have to make decisions on how to allocate our intellect and treasure, and it's in the U.S. Constitution, Joy, Article 1, Section 8, to promote the progress of science and useful arts. And my interpretation of the expression useful arts is engineering. In those days, it would be architecture, city planning, designing of drainage systems, sewage systems, and communication systems. This is all in the U.S. Constitution. That clause is there generally agreed to establish copyright and patent laws, but that's what enables innovation. And if a country stops innovating, it will not be able to compete worldwide.
And, I'm glad you mentioned that sentence. You said science is political. There has been a back and forth between some people in the sciences. There was one person who wrote a piece, Arthur Lambert, saying he was not going to march because he doesn't want science to become sort of bound up in politics. That was countered by someone at Vox who said, no, actually, it's already political. And, the first person, Arthur Lambert, said what you're doing is a bad idea. But the Trump administration has done some things that are notable. They've revoked the stream protection rule. They've ordered the Clean Water Act rolled back. They approved pipeline after pipeline, slashing funding for NOAA and for NOAA and EPA and on and on and on, back down to the Paris Agreement. Is the Trump administration a unique threat in your view, or is the public sort of general, I guess, lack of knowledge about science and what it does for the country, which is a bigger threat?
Well, if I have to pick, the administration is a larger threat. The Environmental Protection Agency was put in place by Richard Nixon. By any reckoning, he was a very conservative politician. And he did that for the betterment of the citizens, not for a specific fossil fuel interest group, anything but. So everybody, it was not the good old days when rivers were polluted and the air was so polluted you couldn't see the mountains in Los Angeles where you are today from anywhere in the valley. Those were not
I remember those days.
Instead, we established regulations that have improved the quality of life for everyone. Regulations are like a machine. You want all the regulations you need, but no more. You can't walk up to a machine and start taking pieces off of it. You can't walk up to an airplane and start taking pieces off and expect it to fly properly. In the same way, the regulations that we have in place are a result of 40 years of negotiations, of politics. This is not a good or bad thing, it's a thing. Politics are in the U.S. Constitution from 1786, if I may, for crying out loud. So let's work together and make the environment clean and have renewable energy so we don't have to have a military on the other side of the world, and we don't advance or make things worse with respect to global climate change.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we are going to thank you, Bill Nye, the science guy. You can check out his new show, Bill Nye Saves the World, on Netflix, and we're going to keep watching those big marches in D.C. and around the globe. Thank you very much, Bill Nye. And coming up next...
Thank you, Joy. You're in Los Angeles. Not too late to get out in March. Come on.